Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Welcome back, guys. Today I am talking to Tiffany and Clarence of the Big Funk Theater Company. We talk about how they created their shows and the importance of sharing your passions. I think you're really going to love this show today. It really opened my eyes to how important it is that if you have an idea, just go out and share that with the world. You really don't know how you're going to change people's lives, how you're going to help people. And I think you're really going to love this episode. So welcome to the show, Clarence and Tiffany.
Thank you. How are you?
It's great to have you both on. I don't think it's very often we get two people on at the same time. So this is very exciting for me. And you guys are both at the Big Funk Theater Group. Tell us more about that.
Well, we're super happy to be here today. The Big Funk is a company that Clarence and I run with the goal to... We have a few different goals. In the theater world, it's to bring American theater to Paris because there is a wonderful community of expats and also wonderful French audience members who've been following us since we started, and we have so much fun exploring different American playwrights. And then we do them in English and French in Paris. We offer in both languages. And the idea is to build that bridge. And we've been doing it since 2011, right, Clarence?
Yes, it's been a long time. I mean, it's been a lot of hard work, but we've also been very lucky to surround ourselves with people that have been very supportive. And since 2011, so it's been a long time that we've been doing this.
And what inspired you to first start the group?
Well, it was like we were in a class. We were taking an acting class together, and then originally it was three of us that started it. Tiffany, myself, and a French actress, Julie, and we had started it. And it was just, we always knew we wanted to, like for me, I knew I was always wanted to be part of to have a theater company, but I just didn't have the people around to do it with. And then I met Tiffany and Julie, and we were like, let's do something that wasn't, as Tiffany said, is that we know that there was already some well-established great artists doing French theater, but what about things from America and bridging that gap? And so that was like the kind of like the initial, the initial seed that was planted to say, okay, let's start this company and to tell these stories and to bring what Tiffany and I knew from back home in the States to bring it and share with here in France and vice versa.
So what were you saying, Tiffany?
Well, I just wanted to jump in there. What's really exciting, and we're just so grateful for, is that there is an absolute wealth of Anglophone actors, bilingual actors in Paris. And we just have the wonderful privilege of knowing them and working with them, and they're friends of ours. And it's such a joy to be able to work with this group of incredible people. And what's fun is that I actually grew up in Paris, and my mom had a theater company years ago when I was a little girl. And she did productions as well in English and French, but very much inspired by plays coming from the States. And so it was really exciting to be able to start our company and kind of continue that. And we actually work with some of the actors who were in that company as well, which is super exciting.
Oh, wow, that's great. I love how we're continuing the family tradition and talk a little bit more about that. Like you're doing it bilingual, you're doing it in French and English. So is it like one show will be in French, one show will be in English? How do you decide? Like, how does it work?
Well, we do the productions that we have our main productions that we do yearly, like per season, is those shows are like our American Fridays and American Sundays and English Sundays. Those the English Sundays and American Sundays are there are play productions where we do short plays, and those plays are in English, but they're surtitled in French. And then for the American Fridays, which are play readings we do, those are in English. And but we do most of those plays are in English, but we have produced plays that are in French. We have one. I'll let Tiffany talk about the Maya project, which is in French, because not only as a Big Funk we're producing, but Tiffany also she's one of the stars of it. So I'll let her tell her about how we also do the things in French as well.
Well, a current production that we have is a beautiful piece that we wrote as a collective called Maya une voix. And it's a play that's inspired by Maya Angelou. And we had the brilliant director, Éric Bouvron, and his partner, Elizabeth Brownhill, came to us wanting to create a show inspired by Maya. And of course, Maya has been an inspiration to many, but to Clarence and I growing up. And so we were very excited about the idea. And we wrote and developed this beautiful creation in French. It's a play with music. And so all the songs are in English. And then the show itself is in French. And oh my gosh, we started, I want to say 8 years ago writing. No, 9 years ago we started writing it. And then we've done Paris, we did Avignon twice, we went on tour. We still have tour dates going on. I mean, it's incredible how we've been able to do this piece for so long and with a group of wonderful women. It's all women on stage. And we get to play all different types of characters. I think everyone is playing something like 6 characters. We play men, women, children. It's very exciting.
I love this. And the fact that it's like
Yeah.
weekly too. It's like so fun, all these Friday and different things they have going on all the time. And talk a little bit about what you've learned about the French audience's response to American theater. Is it different than what they expect? Are they loving like the subtitles? Tell us more.
I'd say that, and Clarence, you let me know if you agree, but when we started, we had obviously a strong, the majority of our audiences were expats, Americans, English speakers who came to see our show. And then little by little, more and more French people started coming. And I'd say a good, 50% of our audience is French. And I think it's because everyone wants to kind of plunge into that world, that universe. It's a very different world than what we're used to seeing in theater in France. And I think it's fun for people to discover, first of all, playwrights from the States and Anglophone actors. And there's also a different approach to how we approach the work as well, which is fun to explore. So I think the response has been wonderful, and we're very grateful to our audiences. Because every single time that's what's so wonderful about the show is that we always come out of a show with like a little high because it's just so wonderful sharing with the audiences. It's I mean, what I love about theater, it's not just about what happens on stage or the audience, it's where the two meet. And there's really a meet at that point when we're performing, and it's so wonderful. So I'd say the response has been very positive and exciting.
Yeah, I would say the same. It's very positive, and the way the audiences they respond very well to the subtitles. Because it was just interesting is when we had started doing it years ago, that was one of the questions. A lot of people was like, well, how are people, they're supposed to be watching the theater, but how are they also going to be reading these subtitles? And one of the reasons we had made it, especially if we do a production, we wanted to make sure that it was subtitled in French is because that was one of our goals was to bridge the Anglophone and the Francophone communities together. So we didn't want to exclude them. And now, which is really interesting, I was just looking at a bunch of shows, trying to book some tickets just this morning. And even at the Comédie Française, everybody's doing subtitles. Like in like a few years, I would say even like maybe like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, every show at the Comédie Française was not subtitled in English. It was only certain ones, but now every single one is subtitled. So it's I think the audience is they respond very well to it. And as Tiffany said, is that now I would say it's about 50-50 where yeah, 50 like half and half or 60-40 where our audience is a mix of French and Anglophones. And that's what's great for us is to go from having majority expats and now we have people that come and they are completely French and had no prior knowledge of what we do come to. And as she said, after the show, they said, oh, I've never been. I didn't know. I just heard about it and I came and I just loved it. And also getting them that response of saying, "Oh, I was a little nervous and scared because my English is not that strong, but I was able to understand everything, and I really and so that is an attestament to the as Tiffany mentioned the wonderful actors we work with and the directors and just the team that makes sure that when you put something on stage, no matter what language is in, as long as you tell the story and you tell it well and with authenticity and truth, that it'll connect to your audience. And I think that's what we try to do every time we do something.
Yeah, and I think that people can probably really feel the passion no matter what language it's in. They see, like your group is so passionate about what they're doing. It just comes out and people really connect to that. And talk a little bit about how the Big Funk emphasizes community as a core value. So how do you build that sense of belonging among such a diverse group of artists?
That's such a nice question. I think there's something very special that happens when you get a group of artists together and they're all wanting to explore, play with their craft, tell a story, and learn. And that's literally what every single time we put something up, I mean, that's the experience that we all go through together. I know that, when I get to work with all these great artists, whether the directors or actors or just musicians, I mean, I'm blown away by the talent that is out there. And I think that's what's so special is when we get to put something up is coming together and creating together. And you really do create a little family. And it's so special. It's so special to be able to experience that.
And talk about how you see theater fostering cultural diplomacy between the US and France. Like, I know we have a lot going on in both countries right now. So do you see any kind of a cultural exchange there?
Yeah, as we had mentioned earlier, is that once our whether we're doing our play readings or one of the play productions, we always like to have time and space for people to talk and to mingle and communicate afterwards. And being able to, I think we've seen it where theater has fostered this simple thing that what I personally think is missing a lot is just simple dialogue where people can actually conversate and ask questions and give their opinions and give their thoughts without having judgment or being saying, oh, this is why are you saying this? This is wrong. Where you actually just have a space where people can listen and communicate. And so I think I've seen it with the stuff that we do, where theater allows for that communal experience where you get into a shared space. You're in, as Tiffany said, you're in a shared world. And once that is all over, you have experienced something that no one else has experienced except for the person sitting next to you. Or, and then you're able to have a dialogue, an actual honest conversation about things that you are going on in the world. And that's something that I think is where theater is has always been a powerful tool. I think since I think from from the very beginning, when it was created in countries thousands of years ago. So
Definitely. And theater is often described as a living art form. So, how do you keep creativity alive and fresh in your productions?
Well, I think that's sort of the definition of theater, um, is that it's different every time. And and it's just so exciting to see each show, each performance, each time we do it, it's different. And that's to me, that's where the creativity is seeing what surprises happen on stage.
yeah, and to add on to that is one thing that we do is also making sure everything is fresh and new, but also we really do each year we're always evaluating where we want to go and what kind of stories we want to tell and how we want to push and evolve. And so I think that's key to it when you're creating um, anything, whether it's a product or art. You have to be a bit of introspective to look at yourself and what you've done and seeing where do you want to go, and not only seeing about where you want to go, but what is going on around you and seeing about how can you connect, still be able to connect to your audience or individuals. And so that's something that we have done since, and I think that's the strength why we've been around for so long, is that we really look at what what is it we're going to do the next step. What is it and why? And not just about what it is, but why we want to do it. And trying to make sure that it aligns with our beliefs as bringing people together, and also telling those stories and getting people and having all those elements that is just a simple thing of life. Everything changes. And so we want to be a part of that change. And I think that's where the power of good theater, strong theater comes, is that they know that it's always evolving. As Tiffany said, it's always changing. It's always looking for some kind of new challenge.
So, where is the change right now? What do you guys see happening in the next year for the company? Like, where are you heading? What stories do you want to tell? How are you evolving?
Well, one thing that we're super excited about is that I want to say, was it 2 years ago now, Clarence? Yeah, I guess 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And
2 years
it was
ago.
a long time coming, but we started making films, movies, making short films. We both have a passion for film as well as theater, and we thought, you know what, let's launch ourselves in in that world as well. And it is a different world, so we've been learning, we've been testing different things, but we're really proud of the work that we've done so far, and it's been super exciting exploring the film world.
Definitely a whole other place. And what are some of the bigger challenges of that, or things that surprised you in going from theater to film?
I think one of it is just the scale of I would say that the in between, where in theater we can have our season planned. It's okay. We're going to do this show, and we're going to have American Fridays. We're going to have X amount of American Fridays, X amount of American Sundays, English Sundays. But then in film, it's we have our key components of Tiffany and myself, but then you have these other components where you have to find the story, you have to get the crew, and we have access to a lot of talented actors, and that was one of our motivations to start creating films, because we knew all these great actors that we had worked with in the theater world, but then seeing, okay, giving them and helping them share those stories in a visual world with film. But one of the challenges is just getting it and making sure the momentum stays, because you might have an idea. Because as you mentioned, we had talked about it's been in the works for about, I would say at least we had talked about it probably about 5 years ago about, oh, let's start getting into film. And then it took a while, and then we had did um, about 2 years ago we did a show for Fashion Week, and after that we were like, okay, we are able to do that. Now let's get into the film. And so just having that where, with a film project, sometimes it takes a lot more time for it to marinate and to get all the pieces together. Whereas sometime in theater, you could come, you can get a script, we can go ahead and we could set up like a play reading. We love the script, and we could set a play reading maybe in a matter of a couple weeks. We just get the space. But with film, the same energy is there, but you have to learn patience and being able to know that it's not uh, it may not this project may not actually you may not get to actually film it in front of the camera for another 6 7 months, or even maybe another year. So that's I think that's something that is a big difference between theater and film.
Definitely, it takes a little more time to get things going. And has there been a play or a performance that changed the way that you see life?
Oh my gosh. You mean in general, or
Yeah.
through something we did? Oh, I mean, so many. That's such a good question. Ah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know. So one, there's a company that I always recommend people to go. It's right outside. Well, technically now they call it part of Paris. They put it in, but it's literally out just outside of Vincennes. It's Théâtre du Soleil, and they do productions, and every production, the last one I saw was last year. Um, it's called Ici sur le Dragon, and this play, just the way they make theater, the space they have is beautiful. It's this huge old horse stable that's been renovated. It was renovated back in the I think the late 50s. The stage is huge, and they always have about 15 to 20 performers on stage. Everybody in the production, they all get the same amount of pay, no matter how big or small the role is. The music's always live. Every production, when you go to even just going to eat the food, it's set to the theme of whatever the show is. And these productions that they do is just the way what you're talking about community and saying something with theater and moving them. It's just this great space, and you would never know who you would run into, because even just last year I took some students there, and students like, oh, Mr. Tokley, the Green Goblin is here. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Who's the Green Goblin? He's like, the Green Goblin. And I'm like, what? And I'm looking, and I'm like, and there's William Defoe. And William Defoe is just like sitting like two seats in front of us. And I was like, oh, that's William Defoe. But he knows him as the Green Goblin. And then we went up, and afterwards we went up and spoke to him, and he talked to us for like 15, 20 minutes. And but just Théâtre du Soleil, just the way they create the pieces of theater that they do, it's just, it's for me, it's always inspiring and moving. And every time I watch a production from them, I come back and I go, yeah, this is the stuff you want to be doing. But I mean, like Tiffany said, there's so many different types of plays I can talk about. Yeah, there's just so many. I mean, another quick one, really just, I'm not, but one I would recommend when it's ever is a curious story of the dog in the nighttime. That production is just like saying, when I saw that, it was just like, wow, just the way you can do with the physicality and then tell a story, and then taking something that is a book that when you read it, you go, how are you even going to take this and translate that onto stage and turn it into drama. And just the way they did it, Frantic Assembly and the director, it's just that production was amazing. But there's so many.
I love that. I have to go out there. You really sold. I've never even heard of Théâtre du Soleil. It sounds
Yeah, well,
super
you
fun.
Oh,
you
it's
should go.
incredible.
Yes,
Yeah.
Théâtre du Soleil, highly. Ariane Munchkin. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her last name. She's a lovely old woman. I think if I had to guess, she has to be in her maybe late 80s, early 90s. Um, Still putting productions on. She was the one that founded it many years ago. In the same vein as Théâtre Bouffe du Nord,
Mm.
which is another great space. But I mean, every time I go, I have a student that may not be able to make it. She just goes, "Oh, here, just give me their ticket," and she writes on it and said, "Just tell them to come, or tell them to come whenever they want." But I highly recommend that de Soleil. Go out there, and it will be a true experience. And then even when you enter in the theater underneath, they have the dressing rooms, and it's open, so you can see the actors preparing. You can see them putting on their makeup, putting on their costumes, and that's purposely done because she didn't want to create a wall between the audience. She didn't want to create this false illusion where that you can actually see that. So if you ever get a chance, Théâtre du Soleil, go and check out one of their productions.
Very cool. That's fascinating. Wow. And talk a little bit about some of the differences between American and French theater. Are there any major things that are done differently that surprised you or anything like that?
Okay, I'll let you start with that one.
Well, I think, yes, major differences. It'd be hard to pinpoint all of them, but I think a big difference is the approach to the work. I've had the privilege of working with French directors as well as Anglophone American directors. And the approach is different. I think that I found, at least in my experience, that the French start with a text, very much working with the text that's written in front of you, and which is fantastic. Whereas I worked a lot with Anglophone directors who we don't always start with the text. The text kind of comes after, in a way. So there is that process that is a little bit different, just in terms of approaching the work. In terms of theater itself, there are cultural differences. I think that obviously the humor is different. The musicality and the humor is different, which is totally normal because it's a different language. But it's fun exploring both worlds. In fact, I love exploring theater in all types of languages. I mean, there's German theater that's fascinating, Japanese theater. It's that's what's so exciting about theater is just when you start exploring the different pieces in the different languages, we learn so much about that culture. We did a production of A Streetcar Named Desire in French a few years ago, and I had worked on a few different Tennessee Williams pieces growing up and early on in my career. And so I'm very familiar with his work. And what's wonderful about his work is that where it takes place is very much a part of the story. I mean, it's almost like the place is a second character, and so the language is very specific. And so, of course, when we did it in French, it was an adaptation, so it's very, very different as well. And it's so hard to explain the differences, but it's just in the language and how the words come out that change the way we act as the character as well. When I'm approaching, for example, A Streetcar Named Desire, I played Stella. Were I to do it in English, the Southern accent would have a very strong place in building the character. But obviously in French, we didn't have that. So by using the text, the language in French to find the character was extremely interesting. That's why I was very, that was something that really stood out to me when I worked with the French directors, just seeing how we approach the work and using the text. And that was so, I mean, because the text is so rich and it's just so fun to explore the characters through that. I hope I'm making sense, but I just,
Yeah. Yeah, I
that
think
was, that was
you make
very
complete
interesting.
sense. Yeah. That's I would definitely say that's one of the, I mean, there's many differences, but that's one is that just approach where I just, in my experiences, as you said, Tiffany, is that in French theater, it's about the text. 'Cause I remember one of the first productions I saw in France in French theater was it was a Godot piece, and I was in the theater, and then you had the intermission, and I'm in the intermission, and so uh, I'm listening, and I like to listen in the intermission to see what people are saying about the show, and everybody that I would say about 90% of the people that I'm overhearing the conversation, they were talking about the first words were like, "Oh, did you hear their pronunciation? Did you hear?" It was all about the way the actors were giving and delivering these words, and it wasn't about what was happening on stage, because for me the production wasn't that great, but everyone was talking about the words and how the actors were delivering the words with such eloquence, and I find that is very one of the differences. But in differences, you can build things, and I think that's what also one of the things that makes us for us to be able to be around is that because we kind of bring in all these different types of people and have you can experience working with someone that might be a French director or American director or some from even somewhere else, and being able to have that experience. It's like you normally don't get it, but there definitely is a difference. Even a musical. I remember I saw The Lion King on Broadway. Then I came to Paris and I saw it at Théâtre Mogador. And it's the same, visually the same production, everything. And then, but there was something that was missing with just the way the story was being told. And I was going, this is not the same. And then I went and I saw it again like 2 years ago, and they revamped the cast and everything. Um, and again, it was the same show, but this time I was like, okay, there it is. It gave me the same feel, even though it was in French. It gave me the same feel of when I saw it in New York. But compared to when the first time I saw it here in France, it was like my eyes are seeing the same show, but my heart and everything else is not experiencing the same thing. But then years later, when they reworked it, um, it had that same essence, which I found really really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like you said, the language, the accents, the people, even. I mean, so much can change any production. So, yeah, that makes total sense, especially working from different cultural backgrounds. And talk about maybe the most rewarding and the most difficult part of starting a theater company in France.
Well, the most rewarding is that magic when we're on stage. For me, I mean, when we're together with the other artists and when we're really doing what we love is creating, as well as the rehearsal process. Rehearsal process is always so much fun. I mean, we're all together and we're exploring, and that to me is the most rewarding part about it is the work. Um, and then in terms of challenges, I think, and Clarence, feel free to chime in, but I think it's well, it's like with starting any company in France, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of that. But what's wonderful, and I'm just so grateful for, is that I get to work with Clarence Tokley, who's just the most wonderful partner. And I feel really privileged because we're always on the same page. And it really, there's a beautiful balance there between the two of us. And I'm just so grateful I get to work alongside him because it really just makes it all fun.
And it's the same. That's working with Tiffany is one of the great rewards. And as you said, the process of putting the work in and then having it once you put it up on stage or whether you're now putting it up on film and getting it all together and seeing it finished, and then just getting the audience reaction, that's very, very rewarding. And then just the fact of what we created, that's like, I think for me, that's one of the biggest rewards of just having this community that we had set out
Mm,
to create, and then it's actually, it's come to fruition. Whereas I just came just before this meeting, I just came from another meeting where someone who just came to Paris, and she goes, "Oh yeah, well, I just met someone that knows you and knows Tiffany." I was like, "Who?" And he said, "Oh, because they said they did this and they went to this big funk thing, and it's just like creating that community." So that's very rewarding. And then, as she said, the challenges is, yeah, the paperwork, and what I think what also is a challenge is space, just
mm,
trying to get the physical space of being able to get into a theater, or try to work a deal out with someone and say, "Oh, well, you know what? We got this thing. Can we come in and just try it?" Whereas in the U.S., just before I came to France, that was a little bit easier. Whereas I could go to maybe it's a local church or a local space where they just have an empty space or they don't use it often, and you can say, "Oh, well, you know what? Do you think we can come in? We want to do this reading, or we're going to do that." That is, I think, it's a challenge in here in Paris, particularly, is getting a space, finding space for consistent rehearsals, or just a space that you might even, whether you want to rent it or where you can just call it your own, where you can have this consistent space of being able to go and create. But again, we've been lucky where people they help us out. But I would say anyone starting the paperwork and getting a space to, like, creating that home, it takes
mm.
time. You got to get the people that you need, but that's the one thing, is you have to be tenacious. And as Tiffany mentioned, if you get the people around you and you guys are just on the same page, it can be done. It's still going to be work, but that can be the easiest thing that can discourage you, and you're like, I can't do this. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just gonna throw it in, and I'm done. But if you find that community and those people, and like you find a partner, um, and the two or three of how many of you, if you're all on the same page and you're ready for that ride, and you're all in the same car and you're ready and you know where you're going, it's going to be all right. So
Yeah, I can see how the beginning is the hardest, obviously, because it's like I'm getting nowhere. This and that. But once you're in, you're in. So once you get some French people on your side and they introduce you to more people, then it's like very workable. And what advice would you give to creatives trying to find their artistic voice?
Mm.
yeah, well,
I would
I'll go
go
ahead,
for it,
Tiffany.
Clarence. Oh,
Okay.
I would say for creatives to just do it. Don't hesitate, just do it. If you have something to say, if you have something to write, if you have something to perform, if you have something to share, find a way to do it, because no matter what, you're going to find yourself meeting someone, meeting people who are in the same boat, who are wanting to create, and you build those connections, and then you end up creating together, and then you meet another person and you create there. And it really is about building this community and creating together. That's the magic of when you're an artist. If you get to do it with someone, I mean, it makes it that much more special. And so I would just say, if you're creative, you have something to share, go out and do it. And even if it's just, a small production or something where there's no budget, it's worth it. It's worth it because you can build on that. You can totally build on that. And what I do find in Paris, at least in our experience, Paris is welcoming to artists, very welcoming in the artistic community, in the audiences that come to see the shows. I mean, I found that we've been welcome. And so, just go out and do it, even if it's on a smaller scale at first, and then build on that. But yeah, don't hesitate.
That's what it is. She summed it up. That's what you do. Is because we start off a tiny little paniche, and where we
Yeah.
had, I think it was probably like 30, 40 seats where people were on this paniche that were rocking back and forth and doing everything. And that was it. We didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know people were going to come. But that's the thing, is that if anyone that has something to say, creativity, that's the hardest thing, is for you to just trust yourself to say whatever it is I'm trying to share is worth it. And it is. It is that if you simply if you got up that morning, then it's worth it. Because my Gigi, my great grandma, used to say is that, that it's that in between the time when you're born and then the time that you die, that in between, anything can happen, and that's where you get your power. And as Tiffany said, that's the if you have something, I know it sounds cliche, but truly it's it's a simple thing, that if you have something that you want to share, then you simply have to share it. And even if it's small, don't worry so much about the expectations or the outcome. Focus on why you want to say it, or why you want to share whatever it is you want to share. Be true to it. Be true to yourself. And if you do that, as you mentioned, one person, really, they will connect to it. Someone will. And then otherwise, if you don't, you're going to be holding on to that. And it will like just kind of connect to you, and you will carry it for forever, because you'll always have that what if. I always had this idea. I've always had this. And then you just will never let it go until you actually release it. So you have to, no matter what it is, you just got to do it. Because I think you owe it to yourself, as, and of course you owe it to my Gigi. So just to come out and just do it.
And on top of that, I would say also knock on doors. Don't hesitate to knock on doors. I mean, we're so lucky we get to perform at the Rue Cerner a few times a year. And it's literally just because we went and just knocked on the door, just showed up and just said, hey, we have this cool project. and somehow it just worked out, and we've been there for years. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I completely agree with Gigi on this one. You just got to put it out there. Be like the Nike commercial, just do it. Knock on doors. Don't be shy. Like, you just got to show up, basically. So
that's it.
Great advice. I think that is a beautiful note to end on. And where can people connect with the Big Funk, learn about your upcoming shows, see something? Let us know.
Well, the first place to start would be our website, thebigfunkcompany.com. We have our calendar up there with all our upcoming shows. Definitely follow us on social media. We do share about our upcoming shows regularly, so you can kind of see what's coming up. Those are the two best places to see what's coming. We have a reading coming up on September 19th, which we're super excited about because the writer, Craig Pospisil, is coming out from New York to be there for the reading. And it's a great play. It's a fantastic cast, so we're really excited about it.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on, and we will share all of that on the show notes, and I hope you guys will check out the Big Funk. Thank you both so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Crystal. We loved it. It was great.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.